What you see is what you get. And this concept is true in many war games, either for historical accuracy. We see this chain of command, World War II. Is it a Tiger? Is it a King Tiger? Is it a Panzer II or Panzer III on there? You know, the tank is the tank. What you see is what you get, because historically we are recreating a narrative on the table. We see this with Warhammer 40,000. You know, you have a squad of Space Marines. They all have bolters, but one of the weapon specialists might have a plasma gun or a flamer. The heavy weapon might have a heavy bolter, a missile launcher, a grav cannon, something like that, plasma cannon. The models need to reflect what they are, not only for the narrative, so it looks cool, but also so your opponent knows tactically, especially if it's a unit of mixed infantry with specialized roles or vehicles with different weapons configurations, where it is on the table. You know, where is it and what is it? So what you see is what you get. And in some wargaming systems, we have proxies, or we'll have stand-in models. You know, you'll say something like, okay, this represents a plasma cannon that my Marine is holding. You know, it has a plasma cannon on there, but for this game, I'm playing it as a heavy bolter. Generally, I have to say that, at least in my experience, that's frowned upon a little bit. You want to go for WYSIWYG. So you might have to buy a couple of different models, or you might have to magnetize stuff, but we're creating a narrative, and we don't want to mislead our opponent or have them forget. But now in Battletech, things get really, really interesting, because you have the primary mech as it was built, as it was created. There might be some sub-variants. Over time, there are other variants to play. So if you take, let's take first mech that comes to mind. I have no idea why. Actually, I do, a Vindicator. I've been reevaluating some stuff with the Vindicator. This is a podcast I will follow up on with this statement. Tonnage for tonnage, battle value for battle value. I believe, and you can disbelieve, I'll make my case in the next podcast, and you'll make yours. I believe that this mech is one of the best mechs, Succession era, Inner Sphere. And what's with Hans Davian starting, like, you know, what was it, the third or fourth Succession War? Like the guy's always starting something on there. You think there'd be more peace in the Inner Sphere. We can understand the clan invasion and their perspective on there. But in exploring that, Battletech, you have a mech, there might be, honestly, 4, 5, or 6 variants. And then what a lot of players do, and it's perfectly rules legal, you could take that Vindicator, you could take that Atlas, you could take that awesome mech and tinker with it. You could drop in different weapons. You can build, not even build your own mech, modify an existing mech. So how do we deal with WYSIWYG? What you see is what you get in Battletech. How does that work on there? Now, most Battletech games are a little bit more manageable in size based on the number of models. That's why I always struggle to wonder, where's the cash in Battletech? You know, there isn't much cash in historicals, because even if you're playing a larger scale system where everything's 1-to-1, you know, one tank represents one, like Chain in Command, one little figure represents one figure, compared to DBA that I play, where my Roman legions, it's a stand of, you know, 5 or 6 Romans. That represents an abstract number. That represents, you know, a fighting cohort on the table on there. But when most games are 1-to-1 in larger scales, I mean, Warhammer 40,000, this is Games Workshop's entire money-making model. And you guys know, if you've been following my channel, my other pursuits, I love 40K. I love 40K on there. One Space Marine equals one Space Marine, and you have hundreds of Marines on the table. You have Titans on the table, you know, essentially battle mechs. You have multiple tanks on the table. You have flyers on the table. The scale is 1-to-1, and you have a massive amount of stuff, and that's before we even get into Apocalypse. Battletech, you can scale up, you can scale down, and certainly I've played massive Battletech games. You know, if you look at some of the battle reports on my blog, the link is underneath this channel. You can see my featured Battletech battle reports. We got a lot of toys on the table, but a lot of Battletech games, 3, 4, 5,000 battle value, Inner Sphere, 4, 5, 6 mechs, a couple of vehicles on there. It's manageable. You know, the point of what I'm saying is it's manageable. There's not so much stuff that you can't keep track. So what you see in Battletech, WYSIWYG only tends to apply to the actual mech and not the variant. So if I'm playing an Atlas and I put that Atlas down, it's good sportsmanship and it's in the rules to let my opponent know ahead of time, hey, I'm playing an Atlas. Unless you have an agreement, a blind draw, and it's an ambush mission, and there's specific mission parameters that prevent this, but doing that, going in. But for the most part, you let your opponent know, okay, it's intelligence. You're back at the bar. Some mech warrior's talking too much. They let it slip. And your opponent can look at the record sheet, can look at the technical manual, know ahead of time. So the Atlas represents an Atlas. It can kind of be whatever variant that you want to play on there. I won't say never, but honestly, speaking from the heart, in all the years I've been playing Battletech and the great amount of mech warriors that I've had the good fortune to play with and hope to continue to play with, I've never had a problem with non-WYSIWYG on an actual mech. And I don't know anyone that has all the variants or plays the variants unless it's something specific like they always play. Like my Locusts, my quest continues, they are the variants that have the medium laser and the short range 2 missile packs. So all of them are modeled that way because even though it's a variant, that's the primary one I play. So it just made sense to do that. I know another player that plays modified T-Bolt based on the RPG campaign, and their T-Bolt represents that variant on there. So you might see some cases where the actual model does represent the variant, but it's not like other gaming systems where you're really pushed into, if you've got 2 large lasers, there better be 2 large lasers on that, and it has to match 100% WYSIWYG. Turning it over to the comments. Battletech, your lance, your collection. What's your thoughts on WYSIWYG for Battletech? And if you play some of the more popular variants that are now mainstream for your collection or your lance, do you play them as WYSIWYG or do you use the stock mech?